Well, it's the end of our final day in the Bahamas. After we had a very pleasant voyage from Spanish Wells on Eleuthera over to Chub Key, we subsequently motored across the bank from Chub Key to Bimini, and that's where we've been the last few days. It wasn't super eventful, which is why we didn't make any video of it. We've been here at Bimini for a couple of days. It hasn't been the best. The local people here are lovely, but some of the people that are attracted by Bimini are not the most thoughtful people with whom to share the water. But anyway, we're going to be heading back to Lake Worth Inlet in Florida tomorrow. We'll probably set off from here at about 5 a.m. It's going to take us about 12 hours to get across, and according to the forecast, winds will be light. There's a chance we'll be able to get the sails up, but maybe not. It could be that we just have to motor the whole way, but it's time to get back, so we just have to go. Anyway, it's been lovely to be here in the Bahamas, our first season cruising the Bahamas, and hopefully not our last. Farewell to the Bahamas. The sun's coming up. It's a beautiful sunrise. Dan, did we get away from our anchorage okay?
Yep, everything went fine. It was a bit sketchy because we had a bunch of boats around us, so we had to be careful, but we did well.
Okay, that's great. Are you caffeinated?
Not enough.
Not enough, okay. And are we following a magnetic bearing that will compensate for the current in the Gulf Stream?
Yeah, we were going to go 318, but we had to dodge a few storms. We picked up them on the radar. We got them this morning while we were getting ready. We just tracked them on our boat radar, and we just went around them. So yeah, we're just gonna do 315 instead of 318, and it should be good. So,
great. Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
The most recent forecast indicated that there would be basically no wind, but actually the wind is okay right now, and so we do have the jib up for a bit of motor sailing, and if things carry on this way, we might also put up the main. We've been going for about 4 hours. We've covered about half of the distance already. The conditions are very nice. The sea state is very calm. There's just enough wind for us to motor sail with the jib. It's probably not worth putting up the main, and we probably can't sail. We do have to motor sail. But at the moment we're looking at reaching Lake Worth a little too early, if you can believe that, because we'd like to time our arrival to avoid a strong current coming out of the inlet. Anyway, it's going really well. It's pretty uneventful, which is nice on a crossing like this. Let's see, we've seen speeds of, our speed over ground with the Gulf Stream helping us is over 8.5 knots quite frequently, so that's good. Starlink is working well. Dan configured Starlink so that they wouldn't shut us down while we're out here at sea. I don't know how many serious sailors would consider this being at sea, but anyway, it's working well. That's about it. Let's hope that it continues in this fashion. We're trying to make land just south of the inlet, so that if we have to make a correction, that correction is a northward one with the current behind us. We don't want to make land north of the inlet and then have to motor south against the current. That would be tedious. So anyway, let's see how it goes. Helmsman, what's our speed?
9.5 knots.
9.5 knots. That seems a little bit incredible. Is that because we have a race boat, or is it because the Gulf Stream's giving us a huge push?
Gulf Stream 2.5 knot push.
That's great. That's great. The swells have picked up a bit in amplitude in the last hour, but they're fairly long period waves, so they mostly just have the effect of lifting the boat and then lowering the boat. So it's not too bad. Well, we are about 2 hours away from our destination, the Lake Worth Inlet. and I don't know if the camera will see it, but by eye you can see on the horizon the small buildings, well, the large buildings of Florida that look awfully small from here. 2 hours to go, and the big swells that were upon us before have gone away, and everything's looking fine for an early arrival at Lake Worth. As we approach Florida, I just went up to the foredeck and took down our Bahamian courtesy flag. We put that up on March 3rd, of course, when we first reached the Bahamas, and it's been flying there ever since as a way of showing courtesy as a foreign visitor. Interestingly, most countries have a courtesy flag, which is just their regular flag, whereas the nation of the Bahamas has a courtesy flag that's a bit different. You can see here in the top left corner, this is their national flag, and the courtesy flag of the Bahamas incorporates that into this bigger design. Anyway, it's a little bit sad to take it down, but hopefully we'll get to fly it again in a few months' time, who knows? The sails are away and we're coming into Lake Worth Inlet. I better stop making this video and give Dan a hand. Well, we've successfully anchored in West Palm, and behind me Dan is checking in online with US Customs and Border Patrol using their Roam app. It's our first time using it, so hopefully it goes well. Here you can see our route. We took 11 hours to cover 80 miles, and we successfully avoided being swept north by the Gulf Stream. It's a couple of days since we anchored in West Palm Beach. You can see whitetail over here. We like coming to this particular spot just because there's a dinghy dock really handy to a walkable part of town, and that's kind of important when you're on a boat because you don't have a car to get to the grocery store or anything like that. So we're just south of the Flagler Memorial Bridge, and it's a good spot here for getting access to grocery stores and city amenities. Next up for us is we need to get north of the Georgia state line within the next 3 weeks in order to satisfy our insurance policy, so that's what we're going to be doing. Our next stop is going to be Fort Pierce, and we're going to go outside probably and motor, because there's going to be no wind, motor up the east coast towards Fort Pierce. That's going to be our next port of call. For now, we're happy that we had a good season in the Bahamas, our first season. We're happy that we learned a great deal, that we got used to whitetail, and hopefully she got used to us. And that's pretty much that. Next stop, Fort Pierce.